This is Denny Morris, Director of Officiating Development for the Ohio High School Athletic Association, welcoming you to the first of our 2 online basketball rules interpretation meetings. Completion of this online presentation will entitle you to 1 local meeting credit. Before we get started with this presentation, I want to take a moment to welcome everyone back to the 21-22 season. I know last year was trying for all of us, and I appreciate everyone's efforts with the COVID protocols, with all the schedule adjustments and interruptions that were necessary. And I also know that we had some officials that were unable to participate because of the threat of the virus, and we're glad to have them back as well. Hopefully, going forward this season, it will be much smoother and more of a normal type season, although I do expect we may have a few bumps along the way with COVID. I am very happy that we were able to complete the entire season last year, culminating in the crowning of 4 state champions in both boys and girls basketball. So with that, let's get started. We are going to look at a variety of video clips reviewing some points of emphasis, mechanics, signals, video of plays that were well officiated, others where there's opportunity for improvement. Let's begin. The first thing I want to review is intentional fouls. This has been a point of emphasis for several years, and again, a reminder, particularly in regards to swinging elbows. In this play, and you'll see several views, the girl dribbler is trapped in the corner, double teamed in an effort to get out of this trap. She swings her elbow excessively, making contact with her opponent in the face. As we have stated before, this is automatically an intentional foul. There is no room here just for a common foul. I do not believe this would rise to the level of being flagrant, thus necessitating ejection from the game, but it is intentional. In this play, the center official is in very good position, has a good view of this, and has even begun the 5-second closely guarded count. For some reason, he failed to recognize this swinging elbow and the contact that took place. However, I want to give a lot of credit to the lead official, a veteran official who stepped up here and really saved the crew, came across, recognized what happened, and not only did he call a foul, but then elevated it to an intentional foul. I realize the coach may not be happy with the delay in the call, but we will support this 100% every time. If you have to get together and have a discussion, that's fine. We need to get the call correct. If the elbow is swinging, which means by rule that it is faster than the rotation of the torso of the body, and contact is made in the head or neck area of the opponent, this is an intentional foul. The penalty is 2 shots, and the ball out of bounds closest to the spot of the foul. So let's try to enforce this properly, be attentive to this, because as you saw in this video, this foul was very severe, caused some pretty significant bleeding in the face of this opponent, and this is a safety foul that we want to stop. This next play was initially very well officiated by this crew. As you see, the ball was deflected and stolen by the opponent. We have a fast break, and then the defender comes in and may in fact be trying to block the shot, but creates a very excessive contact with the shooter, who is airborne. Again, this is a very dangerous and vulnerable position for that airborne shooter. The contact takes the shooter to the floor, and this is correctly ruled an intentional foul for excessive contact. Even if the opponent is making an effort to try and block a shot, if we have excessive contact, then we would want this ruled as an intentional foul. Unfortunately, as you watch through this clip, there was some confusion as to penalty enforcement. The basket did score and count appropriately. However, unfortunately, the officials did not enforce the proper penalty for an intentional foul. Whether the basket is made or missed, it is 2 shots, the ball out of bounds to the closest spot to the foul. In this play, we only awarded 1 free throw to the offended player. If it's a 3-point shot and you have an intentional foul and the shot is missed, then you would award 3 free throws and the ball out of bounds at the closest spot to the foul. If it's made, then it would be 2. Made or missed, at a minimum, they are going to get 2 free throws. And I think it would be a good time for you to pause this video, get out your rule book, and review pages 68 through 70, which covers all of the free throw summary for the various types of fouls that can occur in a game. This really is a 3-person crew, and I would hope that at least one official on the crew would have been able to step up and get this correct. A reminder that we need to be ready to officiate from the opening tip going forward. In this example, a very well called intentional foul right off of the opening jump. Player receives the ball and then clears out with a swinging elbow. A foul was called. We had a double whistle. Officials got together and immediately elevated it to an intentional foul for the contact in the opponent's face. So it was very nicely handled by these 2 officials. Continuing with the theme of opening jump balls, here is a regional tournament crew that clearly was not prepared for what was about to happen. In this clip, you're going to see the jumper not only violate once, but twice in the same play. So here again, I would encourage you to review Rule 637, which it would indicate that the jumper, number 1, cannot leave the restraining circle until the ball has been touched, and 2, he cannot catch the ball before the jump ball ends. And then also you need to review the definitions of when the jump ball ends, but it had not occurred in this play. So again, we need to be ready to go from the opening tip, and this obviously had been coached, and like I said, we had 2 violations here, neither of which were detected by this crew. Now let's take a look at team control fouls. This is an area that is a little tricky sometimes, and I have a few examples here of where it's easily to miss that you have a team control foul as opposed to just a common foul. Again, let's review the definitions in Rule 412, Article 2. A team control is established when a player of that team is in control of the ball, or while the ball is being passed among teammates. You also maintain team control during an interrupted dribble, as well as when a player of that team has the ball at his disposal for a free throw. Just as important is to understand when team control ends, and it ends when the ball's in flight during a try or a tap for a field goal, when an opponent secures control, and the key word there is they must secure control before the team control of the other team would end, or the ball becomes dead by rule. So as we look at this first play, White is clearly in control as they are dribbling the ball, and then it is deflected away by the red player. We have a loose ball and a scramble for it, and a foul appropriately called on the White player, number 40. Officials do a very nice job here of getting the foul called, getting the action stopped, and stepping in to prevent anything from escalating. However, White never lost team control. This is a loose ball foul, essentially, and White fouls before Red secures control. And so Red should have just gotten the ball out of bounds as opposed to being awarded a 1-and-1. I know the table gives them the 1-and-1 signal, and they went with it, but we need to know that this is a team control foul, and when we have a team control foul, the ball is awarded to the opponents out of bounds, and we do not shoot a 1-and-1 if we are in that bonus situation. On this second play, Red is dribbling the ball up the court, and they have team control. White deflects it away, and as you see, White never gains possession of the ball. It remains loose, and it's just bouncing on the floor when Red reaches around and then fouls the White player. So this would be a team control foul on Red, and again, White should have been awarded the ball out of bounds as opposed to awarding a 1-and-1. And in our final example, the girl in white is dribbling the ball and is in team control. Blue deflects the pass away, and we now have a loose ball or interrupted dribble. And then the white player reaches around and fouls the blue girl on the floor. Again, white by rule is still in team control of the ball because blue has not gained control themselves, and this would be awarded out of bounds as opposed to awarding a bonus free throw in this situation. So here are 3 examples of team control fouls where we misapplied the rule. So let's please review that, and let's try to improve our accuracy on how we enforce this. But it's essential that you understand what team control is, when it begins, when it ends, how it changes, so that we can adjudicate this properly. Now let's look at block charge. This is something that always merits review, as we have numerous situations in every game where we have to make a judgment on whether it is a block, a charge, or a no call. In this first play, clearly the defender undercuts the shooter. He has not established a legal guarding position, is not even close, and this really is without doubt a blocking foul. I would suggest for the lead official, number 1, when you have a player driving to the basket like this with no defender on him, that you look for the secondary defender and referee the defense, because this is clearly an incorrect call, and this should have been ruled blocking. Secondly, when we look at the official making the call mechanically, these are not the signals that we would want to be used. First of all, we need to have the fist up in the air, signaling a foul, and then a charging foul if you want, and we should have a hand behind the head signaling that it's player control. It appears this official is more interested in theatrics than using proper signals, and again, this is an incorrect judgment. Clearly, without doubt, this should have been ruled as a blocking foul. One additional note is when you have players, opponents, both on the floor like occurred in this play, do not walk away from them. Stay there, make sure that nothing escalates from that. Reporting the foul is secondary. We need to make sure we have the action controlled on the court first. In this second play, a player control foul is ruled, and that is correct. The defender does have a legal guarding position established, and he is moving to maintain that position legally. So I'm fine with the call. However, this is really in the trail's primary. He's been watching this action in a closely guarded situation, and I would really prefer that he close down with the drive and that he would have first opportunity to make this call. Having said that, like I said, it is a correct call, but lead, don't be in too big a hurry, because this is how we create blarges. And as mentioned in the previous clip, we need to use the proper signals and proper mechanics when we make a player control foul call. Again, first thing is to get the closed fist up in the air, stop the clock before we signal the foul. On this third play is a good example of what happens when we have all 3 officials ball watching and we get 3 whistles on a play. Clearly the trail should not be involved in this at all, and he gives himself away that he has a player control foul. The other 2 officials do hesitate before they signal, but it's evident that they have a blocking foul. So we have a bit of a quandrum here. And finally, 2 officials get together, and it looks like, what do you have? You take it. No, you take it. Finally, we report it, and we do call a blocking foul. But this comes from center side. I'd prefer we let the center take this call. And again, trail has no business signaling, even being involved in the play, let alone giving away to signal immediately that he has a player control foul. And now, finally, I want to close with this last play involving block charge with a almost textbook perfect example of how this should be called, and also the signals and the mechanics sequence. So in this case, the center in perfect position has the play right in front of him, closes down very nicely, makes the call, and gives the appropriate signals. Fist up first, then a hand behind the head to indicate that it's a player control foul, and then gives a signal, the punch, for charging. Also credit the other 2 officials for staying off of this, and they do not react. They let the center take it all the way appropriately as they should. But a very nice job by this official in the center position, and particularly I like how he closes down and follows the play towards the baseline and is in perfect position, has a good angle to rule correctly on this play. As an additional note, if you watch in the slow motion version of the play, you will see that the defender has established a legal guarding position before the shooter leaves the floor, and that the contact is created by the shooter as he jumps into the defender. Yes, the defender does jump up, but he's straight up, and the principle of verticality would apply here. Here is an example of a correct call for a player control foul, but it really should come from the center. The center does not even seem to react to this at all. The lead is in too big a hurry to make this call. It's coming from center sides, as in referenced in the previous clip. Center should close down, follow this play, and he should be one making this player control foul. Again, the defender is in a legal guarding position, and the dribbler jumps into the defender. Correct call for player control, but incorrect mechanics in terms of we would prefer that this would come from center position. Now let's take a look at some mechanics and specifically rotations. Let's first start with some examples of really nice mechanics and proper rotation at all three positions. Here you see the lead begins to close down and actually rotate over to the opposite side when the shot is taken from the far corner, and then he returns back to his position and does not complete the rotation. That is exactly how we want to see this done. Otherwise, you create a switch in the middle of a shot, and with rebounding action and the other two officials trying to rotate to proper positions is not desired. So this is really nicely done. Here's another example, same idea, start to close down, start to initiate a rotation from the lead, and then go back once you see the shots in the air, and trail and center both nicely stay in position and mimic the three-point signal for each other. This is just done really a textbook perfect the way we want to see it. This is a really good use by the lead of the accordion effect. 2 or 3 times he starts to make a rotation, and then based on the position of the ball, recognizes that he doesn't want to complete that rotation, returns back to the far side of the court where he started, and really handles this very nicely. All again based on position of the ball and keeping all 3 officials in the proper position so they're best able to officiate the action that's in front of them. And then the last example, same thing. The lead does a very nice job of starting to close down. Once he sees that shot is going to go airborne, he retreats back, doesn't complete the rotation, which is proper. The trail and the center hold their positions very nicely. They're ready for any rebounding action and do a very nice job on this play. In fact, the center closes down a step, which is good. Now we're going to look at a shot that's taken and from the view of all 3 positions, starting with the center position. You notice how the center actually takes a step down to put himself in a better angle so he can see the shooter's feet at the arc. He's also got a great view of whether there's any contact by the defender on the shooter, and then he's in perfect position to view rebounding action if the shot happened to be missed. So center does a very nice job here handling multiple things, and the center does not bail out on us either. Had he stepped up court towards the mid-court line, he would have ended up straight lining himself and not had a good view of any potential contact on the shooter. Now we look at the lead position. This is a very tight court. There's not a lot of room down there to move and officiate, but the lead's in a good spot, starts to close down, retreats back. He's got a perfect angle if he needs to for rebounding. And then finally from the trail position, when the trail recognizes that a shot's going to be taken, he actually takes a step down. He's in good position for rebounding. And then once the basket is made and it recognizes it's a three-point shot, he also echoes the signal with the center. All around, very nicely done by this crew. Now I want to contrast this with a series of 2 or 3 plays where the lead actually moves inappropriately, rotates when he shouldn't, and really puts his partners at a disadvantage and puts them out of position. And you can really tell just comparing this to the previous plays that I showed what I'm talking about. So in this first play, the lead is too late getting over, and he really shouldn't be sprinting like this. If he has to do that, he should just stay where he's at, because now he's not even watching in the middle of the lane, which is his primary, and by the time he gets over to the far side of the court, he really should have stayed where he was. Here's another one where he rotates late. He looks, waits. Balls are now he goes when the shot's in the air from the far corner. That's not the time to rotate, because now you put the trail and center out of position. Not only do they have to worry about rebounding action, but they're trying to get themselves in the proper spots if we go the other end of the court. Another example again where he waits appropriately here, looks pretty good. It's just too late. There's no reason to make that rotation when the shooter gets the ball and shoots immediately. Stay where you're at. If you start to close down, fine, but then retreat like you saw in the previous series of plays. And just a reminder here on this last play, when it comes to a full court press, you see we have all 10 players in the back court, and you see the trail, now new lead, bailing out, takes off to the other end, is of no help. He's not officiating. He does not recognize that we're in a full court press. Need to pick that up, stay at mid-court, at least until the ball's inbounded, and then move down the court. If you have here, you could even, I would be fine if you started at the free throw line extended, but you need to stay on the sideline, not in the middle of the court there. Nothing's going to happen in that position. He's totally out of position here and needs to recognize that. So this is a very poor mechanic, and it's just in too big a hurry to get to the other end. And again, stay on the sideline so you can help your trail if that sideline gets threatened. I mentioned earlier about when we had opponents on the court, on the floor, to make sure that we stay with them. We showed one play where we had a foul call, and the 2 officials got to the scene right away and made sure nothing escalated. That was very nicely handled. Had another play where we had that player control foul called, where the lead official was more interested in making a gigantic signal, walked right away from players on the floor. So we want to stay with them. Here's an example of, again, where we need to keep eyes on the players. It's pretty well diagrammed out for you as to who to watch. And you'll notice that the trail official, who becomes a new lead, again, is not paying any attention to what's going on behind him. He has no players in front of him, nothing to watch. He's basically officiating space. Need to look back here and see if we can't pick up some of this illegal action. This play just got way too out of hand, and unfortunately just escalates into more and more problems. Here's another example where we have a loose ball and a lot of bodies on the floor diving for the ball. We do finally get a foul call and get the action stopped, which was good. The trail does come over. Unfortunately, while he does detect the white player shoving the opponent, we missed the initial action, which irritated the white player when his opponent went by him and gave him a good head rub. So we got to make sure we see all the action. Unfortunately, many times we do catch the second offender and miss the real person who instigated it. So watch closely on the replay, and you'll see why things occurred that they did. And just got to be very diligent and vigilant in watching for this action. In this play, and particularly on the replay, you can see that we have a punch thrown by white number 22. Fortunately, the officials did catch this and penalized it appropriately. It's at the end of the period, and oftentimes when we get down towards the end of the period, we kind of relax. It's no time to relax here, and kudos to this crew for catching this punch that was thrown in this game. Here's another situation that was very well handled by the crew. You see the two players at the top of the screen there, number 11 in white and the opponent in red. They start jostling right there. We do get a call, an intentional foul initially. Then red 23 goes ahead and pushes, retaliates to white. The officials get together, and we ultimately deem this to be a technical on both players, which is good, and as well as a personal foul to begin with. I also like how the officials handled this. The two that were involved have the discussion. The third official sort of stays back and watches players. He has nothing really to offer, and that's good officiating and a good job of just observing the situation. Now in this next play, way too much rough contact goes undetected or uncalled. I hope this wasn't ignored, but you just see a number of examples here. Under the basket, way too rough. We get one foul, and then we drive another guy into the bleachers. This, I'm sure, escalated over time. It needs to be corrected and stopped very early on so that we don't get to this point. It even appears with the two players that are in the bench or the seats there under the basket, no one's even watching them or is aware of the fact that they're there. The second example on the back side, center, you need to catch this. Unfortunately, the lead addresses it, but it's way too late. This is a foul. It needs to be stopped. In fact, I would rule this as an intentional foul. This is not a basketball move. This is clearly a retaliatory move or an effort just to knock the guy to the floor. Now, a couple examples of coaching misconduct. Here you see the coach charges at the official, comes clear out to midcourt. This is a technical foul, automatically. No warning. This motioning back to the basket. I'm fine with the center official coming across trying to help out, but the help should be a technical foul. There's no excuse for this. This needs to be addressed immediately. Technical foul, take away the coaching box, and he sits for the rest of the game. Here's an example of a coach that's clear across in front of the scorer's table at midcourt inappropriately. I would hope that the trail would see this. We need to get him back to where he belongs. And while this may look like it's just kind of a little joke, he actually goes and sits on the opponent's bench. I know the coaches maybe know each other and are friendly, but this is not proper. We need to get him back, and I know in this situation this coach is a roamer, and he needs to be put back on his side of the court, and it needs to be addressed. Now we're going to look at a couple plays where I'm going to let you make the call here. The first one has to do with the end of game situations. I want you to think about how you would handle this. Notice that it is a 3-point game. The home team leads by 3, 40-37, with 0.2 of a second left on the clock. The home team has the ball to inbounds under the opponent's basket, and you can have the sound on here. You'll see when the ball's inbound, the shooter gets it. With 0.2 of a second, we know that a shot cannot be attempted. But we actually have a shot attempted. It's a 3-point. It's made well after the horn, and then we just have way too much confusion here. If we knew the rule, we know that the shot couldn't even be attempted, and let's see how these officials handle this, but this is not a good ending. Finally, after way too long of a delay, we decide to have a do-over, which there's certainly no provision for something like that. There was no need for it. The game should have ended as soon as that opponent touched the ball in bounds. 0.2 of a second. Again, no shot could be attempted. The game should have been over. And on this second play, the question is this a violation or not? I would suggest that you need to review what can and cannot occur when we have a designated spot for a throw-in. Watch this play and see if it happened to you, how you would handle it. But unfortunately, it results in a easy basket for the white team. And whether this was done intentionally or not by number 5, this is a violation. You cannot change designated thrower-ins once the ball has been made available for that player. So this should not have been permitted to happen. Unfortunately, it did. So as we conclude this first presentation, I want to recognize our final 4 officials from the 2021 season. And so please watch the remaining couple of minutes of this video and to see all of your colleagues and your officiating peers who had outstanding seasons and were awarded a Final Four game. This is the officials for the girls' state tournament, 12 games, 36 officials, and our 3 alternates. And then at the end of the second video that will be forthcoming, we will recognize the boys' officials. So again, congratulations to all these people. Very difficult season. But University of Dayton were great hosts, and we were able to provide for our student athletes a really nice event in spite of a pandemic. Then, once this runs out, will conclude our first online meeting. Again, you will receive credit for 1 local meeting having watched this, and I look forward to putting out the second meeting here in a few weeks. Thank you very much. Stay healthy, and good luck here at the beginning of the season.